Hey people, what's good? This is Lee with the Move the Needle monthly podcast, part of the Live All Good podcast family. This month, we talk about mindset. Stay tuned for the roundtable. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, from that short break. This is the monthly podcast episode, Move the Needle. It's part of the Live All Good podcast. My co-hosts, Janelle and Henry, are not with us this episode, but I have two very special people who will definitely, I think, give you something to think about. And the topic is mindset. What is mindset, and how do you change that? What does that look like? So with us are Christine Boyer. Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm good, Lee. Nice to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Of course. And we have Melissa Harvey with us. Melissa, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Good to
Nice.
be here.
Nice. I'm so happy to have both of you here tonight. So what I want to talk about is mindset, right? And if we just a quick backstory, we all gone through training together as health and life coaches. So we have a little bit of background about mindset. So Chris and Melissa, the floor is yours. What does mindset mean to you?
Mindset is your thoughts, your thought habits, what's going on in the forefront of all of that, whether, positive or negative. It's just what you're fixating on the most at that moment, I feel, is your mindset.
Okay.
And it changes constantly, I feel.
Well, if it's in the forefront, it's definitely going to be like a revolving door, I think,
Yes.
Or it's going to be what fills that slot at that moment. Okay.
Yes. I mean, it can be broad,
Sure.
whether you have a healthy or unhealthy mindset, whether it's stable or unstable. I mean, you can get really deep in that, but ultimately, I think it's a combination of your thoughts and what you're letting dominate your thoughts and control your output, your body language, your interactions with other people, and what's driving, whatever you're letting drive you in that moment.
Okay. That's where I'm going to actually touch on that in a little bit about the two technical, not technical, but I guess the textbook definitions of what mindset is, but definitely want to hear what you guys thought. Chris, what do you think about mindset? What does mindset mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what Melissa shared there. And it just depends. I think your mindset can change, obviously. It is, I believe it's just like your belief system at the time, and what really sets your mind where it is.
Okay.
And it can be pretty powerful too. But I've also learned in my own personal experience that you can change your mind, your belief system, and it takes a lot of work. But it's definitely something that can be done, and it's being proactive if you want to have a positive life and have a positive effect on other people.
I like that. The being proactive is important, I think, with how you guys are describing mindset. Being proactive is much better than being reactive.
Right.
Being reactive means like you're kind of letting someone else dictate what you feel and what you think.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, bottom line is, it's what you believe to be true,
Right.
So I think we all agree, or we can all agree that we all have a story, right? We all have had a certain upbringing, whatever that is, and that upbringing had you um, believe certain things, and had you have a certain mindset from how you grew up. And so getting into the two textbook definitions, you can have a fixed mindset, or you can have a growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Now, very rarely are people all one mindset or all the other.
Right.
But just like you guys talked about, it's a mixture of the two, and it's based on, again, what you believe. It's based on your personal experiences. It's based on the people that you have around you,
Mm-hmm.
right? If
Right. Yeah. And
yeah,
if I can
yeah,
just say that the one thing that comes to mind is, making a decision. Like every morning I wake up and I make a decision. I'm going to be positive and have positive
hmm,
thinking. And this is what my day is going to be like. I'm going to have an extraordinary day,
love that.
despite what I'm faced with throughout
Hmm.
the day, because we all know that, life is happening
Yes,
out there. And what I think it helps when you say that, my feet hit the floor and it's like, okay, I'm going to have an awesome, extraordinary, Jesus-filled
hmm,
day.
hmm. I,
It's talking
I
positive to
love the way
yourself.
you put that too. That's, each thing you said was even more positive than the next. but
Mm,
that's it's awesome, because that's how you build that. You know, it's a
hmm.
choice to do that. Yeah.
Agree. Agree.
So with the textbook definitions of this fixed mindset and the growth mindset, typically what is talked about with those is the fixed mindset tends to be all or nothing, right? It's very negative. It's very defeated. So you have there was an example I was reading the other day. Um, it's actually from, well, okay, it's from a book by, I forget the author's name, Carol Dweck, I think, and the book is called Mindset. And so
Mm,
she begins talking about the study that she was doing, and she was using some of these college kids who were helping her write I guess a paper or some kind of theory. And excuse me, she presented a scenario to them, and those with the fixed mind, the scenario was um, like they got their test back and they got a C plus, and then they went to their car and they saw a parking ticket, and then they called a friend to vent about the test grade and the parking ticket, and the friend kind of politely brushed them off. That's the scenario. So the people with the fixed mindset, they tended to just dig this deep hole based on all of these things. I mean, we can all agree that those are not ideal. No one, well, you might plan for C plus, I don't know, but no one plans on a parking ticket. No one plans on getting brushed off by their friends when they need to vent, right? So the
right.
fixed mindset was leading to things like, oh man, I just can't get anything right. The world is against me. Um,
Kind
you know,
Yeah, kind of like you think of another way to think of it is a limited mindset. I mean, like when
yes,
you,
yes.
by having that fixed mindset, you're kind of limiting yourself. It's like a low belief
Hmm.
in self, you know?
Absolutely. Yes. That's one of the things that she pointed
Yeah.
out, actually, was
Yeah.
that was some of it had to do with, low, they didn't necessarily have low self-esteem, but that mindset created this low self-esteem when negative things
Yeah.
happen.
Those limiting beliefs. Yep.
Absolutely. And so then she asked them, those with the fixed mindset, what were their, what actions were they going to take? What were they going to do about it? And, there was a whole range of answers. Some of them, again, the college students, they were like, well, I'm going back to bed. or I'm going to go get drunk, or I'm going to do this. But it was very defeatist attitudes, very, again, negative thoughts about this is just not working, so I'm going to quit, basically. Right? So you go to the group with the growth mindset, same scenario. And their answers were a lot of, okay, I got the C plus. I guess I didn't study hard enough. And, the parking ticket answers were, I should have paid more attention to where I parked. And then with the friend, politely brushing them off, they were like, oh, I'm going to call my friend later to see what was going on with them, see how their day was. Right. And then their actions were, I need to study hard or study harder. I need to be more prepared. And then I need to pay more attention to where I'm parking. And then with the friend, very similar to what their answer was, the action is, I need to check on that friend because it seems like they had a worse day than I did. And so, hopefully those may or may not be clear examples. But like you all have said too, a fixed mindset is very limiting, right? It keeps you at status quo, if you will, and status quo is not necessarily a good thing. It means you're not changing and you're not getting better. You're not growing. If negative things happen, you're going to let them pile on and bury you, I think. And that doesn't necessarily turn out the healthiest of actions when you're trying to achieve goals. You tend to give up on them if you're thinking that way. Any other thoughts about like limiting mindsets or those type of beliefs?
Well, I think it goes back to motivation too, and being open-minded. I mean, that growth mindset is being open to all possibilities. You're not just focused in on that first story you're telling yourself. You're going, wait, no, maybe that's not just all there is to the story. Maybe there's something bigger, and just being open to believing better. And
I like that. Actually, you're right on the money.
Yeah.
Being open.
Yeah.
Because if you're open to the possibility, right, right, open
possibilities, and I think, and I would like to add that, having a hopeful attitude. The negative part, of the mindset is, people that are unchangeable, that they're in their comfort zone, they can't change. It's usually, from my experience, it's because they don't want to. It's because it's unfamiliar. And, I believe that change is necessary, obviously, to grow.
You said something just a minute ago, Chris. You said the comfort zone, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's why a lot of people won't put those feet forward and change and take action and be proactive, because their comfort level is comfortable. Right?
Absolutely. That's kind of the point. Like here's the thing. Our minds don't really want to change because it's scary, and there's fear, and it's
absolutely
comfortable, right? So in order to change, that means something becomes different. And then if something is different, it's the brain thinks of it as unstable, and the brain will do everything it can to convince you that your comfort zone was stable. And so, it's funny. I tell some of my clients, or I even tell people, learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? If you can change,
Great statement.
if you can change your comfort zone to being uncomfortable, if you get comfortable with that, there's nothing that you can't do. There's nothing that's going to shake you. There's nothing that's going to be unstable because you will have accepted the fact that everything is unstable and you're comfortable there.
Yeah.
Right. Run into your fears.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was something that was something I read one time, and talking about your mind and how when you think about the thousands and thousands, like 10,000 thoughts a minute or something that we have,
right,
that your mind is always generalizing, and no matter what your mindset, you're always looking for evidence to confirm your beliefs.
Exactly.
So you have to understand that that's the way you're wired, is that your mind is always looking. If you're thinking, that your friend is being a jerk and ignoring you, well, your brain is automatically firing those 10,000 thoughts, in a minute
of the evidence,
looking for reasons to confirm that belief.
Right.
And so if that's what you're thinking and that's what your brain's looking for, that's the way your mind is going to go. So the minute you recognize that and go, wait a minute, is that true?
Right.
And stop and interrupt that thought process and really look for the truth in whatever it is that your thoughts are, bringing to your mind.
That's good, Melissa. Yeah, that's good right there.
You're so right.
Interrupter. It's hard as heck. I mean, I've been fighting all day today, as you well know. It's hard it's exhausting to just constantly be present like that, but go, wait a minute, is that really true? Is that really true? What else could be happening in this moment?
Interrupting your own thought process. Absolutely.
Yes, because your brain wants you to be right. Your brain wants reasons to confirm whatever it is you're thinking.
Yep.
And just like your comfort zone, like what you're talking, that's, we want to be right. That's comfort. That's safe.
All the above. That it's so crazy because our brains are our greatest asset.
Yes.
But they are also our biggest enemy.
Yes.
True that.
Because it's so powerful how you choose to frame something, right? I mean, and that's what we're talking about with mindset. And I wanted to add on to what you guys were saying. The difference between people who are positive thinkers and people who struggle with that, I think the difference is this. It's not that negative things don't happen, right? Negative things happen, and it's either in your control or out of your control, however that is. But people who have positive thinking patterns do not let the negative things dominate their actions for an extended amount of time.
Right. And I think if everybody understands, I think the more that we can, people can realize that your body, you're geared more towards negative thinking than you are positive. So you have to work towards that. I mean, we're wired to love, of course, but it's, these automatic negative thoughts are there. I call it, I've heard the acronym ANTS, ANTS, automatic negative thoughts.
Okay.
And it's like, because that's what we're bombarded with constantly. And so you have to understand that that's just going to happen. That's where you have to interrupt those and go, okay, wait, that's that automatic unconscious mind, part of my mind that's just going crazy. And I've got to
reel it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like
focus on what's true.
It's almost like a muscle too, right? I mean, where Chris, I know you're a bike rider. Melissa, I know you're a runner, and so Chris, when you first started riding a bike, could you ride 30 miles? Right? No.
Probably not.
Maybe you could. I don't know.
No, not well, at least.
Right. But it took time right?
Right.
Build
Right.
to
Build those muscles.
and what's your longest ride to date? Just generally speaking, what's the longest distance you've ridden?
Oh gosh, probably when I was doing the Make-A-Wish Foundation ride, I was riding 300 miles in 3 days.
Oh, okay. See, so you averaged 100 miles in a day with that. You didn't just get up off the couch to do that. That took a little bit of time and effort, it took training.
Months of training. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, it did.
Exactly. And Melissa, like with running, I don't know how many. It's the distance is not necessarily important, but 1-2 miles, right? Maybe 3, 4, or 5. Could you, when you first started running, could you run that?
Oh no. Oh heck no.
Right. It took time.
Stop.
Yeah. Well, and that's the point that I want people to kind of pick up on, right? We're explaining what mindset is. We're giving you the examples of positive and negative, but have the hope that if you want to change, you can.
Right.
But it takes effort.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add to the
Absolutely.
positive thinking is being optimistic, because you have the optimistic person and then the pessimist.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was old enough to realize that when I was, making friends and building relationships with people,
Mm-hmm.
that, there were people that were just not, they were toxic for me. They were not positive, and they weren't, they saw the glass always half empty, and I wanted to see it half full. And so there was always this awareness that grew in me as I got older. And, I can happily say that I've, formed some beautiful relationships with people, over the years that I still have in my life. And just recently, with like you two, with that connection and that positive outlook on life and that hopefulness. And I, as much as I know the Lord wants me to help people and to encourage people, and we're coaches, we coach people that want to change their belief system and their mindset and their habits. So, but we also have to be very careful that we don't surround ourselves with people that are going to pull us down too.
That is very important to not just a support system, but having people support you and are also bringing the same energy that you're bringing. They're not detracting and siphoning away the positive energy that you're providing. Absolutely.
Right. Because Absolutely. It takes work. It takes work to be positive.
Well,
yes, it does.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm thinking, just listening, and I was thinking, people are going, how do I fight, or how do I just do that? Right. I can't just think positive. And one of the biggest things we've heard, all of us have heard through, our training and stuff is, what you fight against persists. Right. And so you can't just think, I'm not going to think that negative thought. Right. I don't want to think, I don't want anybody to think that it's just that easy. I'm just not going to think negative. I'm going to think positive.
That's just the first step, is actually making the choice to, I'm going to think positive, but there are things you're about to touch on, things that we can do, right? Yeah. Awareness is the first.
And that you have a choice, and just like you need to get curious about the thought, not to just say, I'm not going to think that, because, just not letting it in at all. I mean, sometimes that's the same. Sometimes
it's not going to happen.
Thing, but the more you fight the thought, I think the more it nags at you. And I think like just being aware of it and maybe questioning it, and
well, I like what you said, Melissa. You actually said something. Being curious about
like,
it.
Where is that coming from?
Because
why am I that worried?
Yes,
about it,
yes. If you're curious about it, you can dive in a little deeper to then figure out, why am I feeling that way?
And realizing, okay, so maybe there's, something else, or another angle, or
a little deeper under
way
the surface.
I don't know, look at it or whatever. And it's, choosing to just, think differently about it, or to make a different choice, or to try something new, that gives us that freedom from being trapped in that negative cycle all the time.
So you actually touched on something that I want to take a quick break, and when we come back, Melissa, you were really that's a perfect segue about like choices. So how do we actually change our mindset, right? So when we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and discuss a few options of how to actually change your mindset. All right. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to this month's episode of Move the Needle. And the topic is mindset. I am here with Chris and Melissa. So before we took a break, we were just kind of talking about mindset. We talked about what positive mindsets are, what negative mindsets are, and gave some examples of that. So for our listeners, what we kind of want to do now is, you might be saying, all right, I get it, right? Negative things happen, and I'm supposed to not let it dominate my actions. How do I do that? Or you might have a question of, I see myself in exactly what you guys are saying. How do I begin to change my mindset? So I'd like to give some examples of that. And I'd like for us to even talk about that. Do you guys mind if I give an example now, or do either one of you want to chime in real quick?
No, you go, Lee.
Okay. So I think an important thing, and this is, I've had this thought based off of what I've seen our country go through over the last 4, 5, 6 years. And I think a big way to change your mindset is to seek out people who think differently than you do. So it's okay to think differently than someone. It's even okay to obviously not agree with someone. Now, we're not talking about fundamental differences, right? Like everyone deserves the right to live, that kind of thing. But if you have differences of opinion with policies, or differences of opinion of color or whatever, you are allowed to disagree. But I think an important part of changing your mindset is actually engaging with people who might have a difference of opinion than what yours is. And I say that because if you have a certain set of beliefs, if you have a certain mindset, whether that's positive or negative, if you have a certain mindset and you are constantly surrounding yourself with the people who agree with you all the time and think the exact same thing you do, or, even tell you, oh yeah, no, you're right, whatever you think. And they give in to what your opinion is, that is not going to expand or stretch your thinking. You might then begin to believe that exactly what you think is right, and that there's no other alternatives to something that could be also right.
Right. That goes back to that first thing I said, is our brain is always looking for reasons to support what we believe, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're if you're looking for that support from someone to tell you, you're right, you will definitely find it. And so, I encourage anyone to, if you are really looking to change your mindset, seek out people who have a different opinion. Yeah. It doesn't mean you're wrong, and it doesn't mean they're right, but it's a different perspective that's going to have you thinking something different.
Right, in a non-judgmental way too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Has to be from a place of respect
Right.
I won't. You may not love that person, so I won't go that far. We would prefer it come from a place of love, but it definitely has to be respectful on both sides,
Right.
and that it is very doable. I'll share a personal story. There's a friend of mine, and there are some people I worked with in Cleveland years ago who would even question why I'm still friends with this person. I too have questioned why I'm still friends with this person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I will say that, like, deep down and behind all of the barriers and behind all of the content of why people question my friendship with this person, I know this person's true heart, and I've seen it, and that that drives me to stay engaged with this person, because many times we have difference of opinion on many things. And sometimes they're political, sometimes they've been racial, but at the end of the day, we both respect each other. We've never gotten to the point where we hate each other. We might be severely frustrated with the um, lack of listening on both of our parts because we're so intent on trying to uh, get our point across.
Right.
But what's funny is that we always come back right to the point where, like, okay, wait, let's stop. Let's table this, let's move on, let's talk about something else, let's come back to where we have common ground. And so it's challenging, but it continues. My engagement with this friend of mine, I truly believe, continues to help me grow and understand the world from different perspectives because we don't agree on things.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so funny because I'm sitting here thinking in my head going, okay, this is what I want to say, but I didn't want to interrupt you, but you kept talking. And I'm like, he just said exactly what I was going to say. I mean, there's just so much power. I mean, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
Yeah.
there's just so much power coming from engaging with and respecting and getting to know your adversary, so to speak, you know? Like, instead of running away or trying to suppress, but gaining that understanding. I mean, gosh, power, man.
And as you guys know, there's been some seriously deep-seated things that have been uprooted about this country and what's going on. There have been moments where I literally was about to tell this friend, look, we can no longer be friends. I mean, I went back and forth about this, was even in a group text with some other friends who know this friend. And they were like, yeah, what are you doing? But I want to say this. And again, this is obviously a really personal level. But if I'm the only one that is going to stay engaged with this friend, and if I'm the only one to bring an opposing view to him, I'm going to be that friend.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. If that's my role, if that's going to help this friend continue to stretch even a little bit, even grow a little bit, like it's not 50-50, right? Like there's no equal growth, but if this friend grows even just a little bit and thinks differently just a little bit, then that's why I'm staying engaged, because of that.
Yeah, and obviously he thinks enough of you, Lee, as a friend that he wants to stay connected to you.
He does.
Because he sees something in you. Especially if you say he is this difficult and challenging at times, or all the time. I had a friend like that, and and so I know what you're going through and how challenging it was, and is to just have this relationship. But he's looking for something. He's looking for something that you probably have that he wants something. My thoughts are he sees this kind, caring, good person in you. And I mean, I don't know this other person at all, your friend, but
Sure.
you have these attributes and this positive outlook on life that, it's contagious. People want to be with you. People want that to rub off on them. They want a little bit of what you have. And I've got to believe that's, it's the truth. And I think, people, this friend of yours is probably looking for something that, that brings him joy, is being your friend. And
And I promise you, like, that's the thing I've thought about too. Like, one thing that has gone through my mind is like, wow, if I quit, what's that gonna? Not that I don't want to say that I'm some important force in his life, anything like that. I don't know, and I'd never have asked. But if I were to quit on this guy, what is that gonna do to me? I'll know that I quit. And I can't live with that.
Right.
Not right now. Right. Not right now. Maybe a year from now, maybe 10 years from now.
Well, and that's, and that goes back to that whole growth mindset. You're building resilience and awakening all those options that are in front of you instead of quitting.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's one personal story that is obviously ongoing. And so who knows? I may even invite him on for a podcast or two. That'd be interesting. To say the least. But another example, and this is completely unrelated, that I'd like to share from just the difference between what I think would be these textbook fixed mindsets or growth mindset. Many of the listeners may not know that our family pet is a guinea pig. And
Mr. Squeaks.
That's right, Mr. Squeaks. and just to let y'all know, he's fat and happy as ever. So,
well, he's living in Trump Tower, right?
he's got the upgrade. He definitely does. And so we first got him. And they give you this housing, this kit, if you will. And so you set it up and, could we have left him in that starter kit? Sure. Right. But as I think a pet owner should, with whatever pet you may own, you want your pet to have a good life as well. Right.
Right.
So I think as a fixed mindset would be, hey, we stay with whatever we got, and that's what it is. And that pet lives out its life in whatever we started with, and that's all we have. We keep it there. Well, I have never known so much research and that there were so many things out there for guinea pigs to thrive.
Oh, do share.
There are entire websites based on proper guinea pig enclosures and the proper bedding, proper food, all kind of stuff. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that. But okay, so the growth mindset I think that I have behind our family pet was, okay, let's enlarge the enclosure with the space that we have to work with here. While there are a lot of suggestions that say you can dedicate an entire room for a guinea pig to move and explore, that's not an option for us. Yes, you heard that right. An entire room for the guinea pig to explore. But like I said, that wouldn't work for us. But okay, so we got a much larger enclosure, and then we kept upgrading different things in it with, okay, let's see what he like, what type of bedding works best, right? We found out like what type of food works best. Those kind of things, right? And so for a while that we set it there. Then I started thinking, okay, I started reading more. And as a side note, did you guys know that guinea pigs can suffer from the same lifestyle diseases that humans can?
No, did not know that.
They can get diabetes, they can get high blood pressure, they can get arthritis if they don't get enough exercise, if they don't eat the right foods, vitamins. Like I was like, wow, this is just a little human with fur and 4 legs. Okay. Yeah, yeah, because I like to eat bell peppers with a lot of the food that I make, right? I'll cut up bell peppers. And the vet was like, yeah, you should share them. And I said, with who? And she said, Mr. Squeaks. I said, what? Wait a minute. What are you talking about? So, yeah, he now lives on a diet of some fresh bell peppers and endives, but that's a whole nother tangent that I won't go down.
Nice, whole food, plant-based.
Yeah, pretty much.
Can I just interrupt you just for a second?
Sure.
This is your daughter's pet, right?
Yes, it is.
Did it start out to be Jordan's hamster?
Yeah. Oh,
or guinea pig?
yes.
I'm sorry, I stand being corrected there.
Yes, and technically he still is,
right.
But there's been some other feedings and been some other cleanings. So yeah,
that's awesome. He's a family pet.
I'm telling you, man, never in my wildest dreams. So, long story short, the growth mindset moved to. I looked for even more upgrades because I started reading like, okay, they need to have things in their enclosure, in their habitat, so they're not bored. I'm like, how do you entertain a guinea pig? I don't know. So I found a really specific website that had habitat upgrades. And yes, Mr. Squeaks now has a second story. He has his own, as they call it, a kitchen. It's just kind of like a litter box, but they call it a kitchen. So yeah, I spent real money for these upgrades. But I say all that to say, I think that is a true growth mindset as well, because I could have easily said, nope, we're not doing that. This is all we're doing. This is what they gave us. And he's just going to have to live with it. Right. And that's easy. Yeah. I could have easily done that. Said, nope, we're not spending any more than we have to. No. But if he's truly going to live in our house and, get attention and be happy, I think it's only fair that he gets a decent habitat with what we can do in our house. So I think that also exhibits, like we're talking about mindset and positive thinking, negative thinking. It doesn't even have to be that. The growth mindset is opening yourself to the possibilities of what can happen, of what can be better than what it is now.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to actually share that example, because while it's fun and kind of lighthearted, it still, I think, puts forth the example that it is a change. It is growth,
Absolutely.
So sorry for the long-winded Mr. Squeak story there, but
well, he's your family and you're passionate about it.
That's right. But is there any examples of growth mindsets or fixed mindsets that you all would like to share?
Yeah, I can share. Wow, when I think about, I know when you asked us to be on your podcast, Lee, and you wanted to talk about mindset. It's just like, boy, I have a lot that I could talk about. But the one thing I believe that was life-changing for me, and you both know about my past, and I'm always open to talk about it because I think it's healing for me still to this day. It's been 28 years, almost 29 years since I've been clean of alcohol and abuse. Awesome. Food, abusing my body with food and alcohol, in my
Mm-hmm.
mindset back then in my early 20s and to my mid 30s before I had the transformation and breakthrough. I mean, I lived a life of guilt, shame for years. Every morning
Mm-hmm.
I'd wake up and I would have this heavy guilt and shame and burdened and, living this lie and no hope, always
Mm-hmm.
fearful. I mean, there's a lot of things that go with addiction.
Sure.
And so became, a Christ follower, and it was definitely a
Mm-hmm.
Holy Spirit experience for me. God placed, several people in my life that helped me through. I think He brings people into your life for seasons in your life. And
Absolutely.
gradually through the years, I began to have a hopefulness of, of a life that was going to be clean and good and um, peaceful. The word
Mm-hmm.
freedom and peace. I remember how much freedom and peace I had, and it was such a heavy burden off of me.
Mm-hmm.
But through the years, learning who my identity was then and who I was becoming was
Mm-hmm.
difficult. It was difficult on my husband because his fear was I was changing, and if I was going to change, who was I going to
Mm-hmm.
change into? Had he known it was going to be
Mm-hmm.
such a beautiful transformation, but those fears were definitely real
Right.
for him.
Right.
But
Right.
through all the therapy and all the things that I've learned throughout life, I think we in our life, our experiences is what gives us. It's our experience in life. That's our training, I believe, and that has
Mm-hmm.
become my training for my coaching as well. And
Yeah.
so my mindset back then to what it is now. I mean, when I talk about this with people that first meet me, they'll look at me and they'll go, like I have three eyes. And they'll say, I just can't even believe that that was even you back then. And I said, yeah, I
Right.
understand and I know. But I think I surrounded myself with people that were positive for me, that people that were going to help me, and God led me to a lot of different people, and He brought people into my life to help me with that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, but back then it was identifying all the negative things in my life. What was, you know, who was I,
Mm-hmm.
and who do I
Mm-hmm.
want to be now? And it was like I felt like I was just reborn at 35. It was, it was, I was crazy excited for life, and the things that I was, I got engaged with and out of my comfort zone, and I trained for the National Ski Patrol, and I worked with the Ronald McDonald House and the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and so I was just trying all these new things,
Mm-hmm.
but it was, finding gratitude every day, practicing
Mm.
gratitude, and being
Yes.
open and finding humor in my life. I fortunately I spend time with a lot of people that make me laugh. My husband, one of them.
That's always a good thing. That is, humor is definitely good, and I love how you put gratitude in there too.
Mm,
You know,
yeah. So
absolutely.
it's just definitely it's a journey and it's a process, and positive thoughts and how to get there. It's work. It took a lot of work for me to get where I am today.
You
But
definitely,
you can do it. I mean, it depends on how
yeah.
much you want that life.
You also exemplify that too. You show, um, you show us all the time what a believer you are, what a positive influence you are for people who are connected to you, but just the way that you intentionally, and much like Melissa said in the last segment, right? The thoughts. that's what drives your actions.
Mm-hmm.
So you are very intentional with the thoughts that you have to begin your days, and how that drives your days in your life.
Right.
And
Being intentional.
and yeah,
it's a great word.
And yes, you definitely exemplify that.
Thank you, Lee.
For sure.
Thank you.
For sure. Melissa, any thoughts on the any examples on fixed or growth mindsets that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, we could talk for hours,
Or,
right?
Or there,
But,
are there too many?
and I thought, I don't even know what I'm going to say, but or if you ask me that, but something just popped into my head. And, I think most of my life, I'm in my 50s, so I would say for a good 40 years, my mindset was to play small. And realize,
Okay.
And as I'm thinking through all the things that I've learned about a growth mindset and being open, is that was a safe place. Having that fixed mindset, not believing things can't be any different. It's just like a safe, narrow road that you don't have to, like if you accept those limiting beliefs about yourself, that it relieved me of the responsibility of having to try any harder than I was,
Wow. Yeah.
And,
okay.
When I realized that the only thing holding me back was my mindset, it's like, it's kind of like, oh, wow. And then it got really scary, really scary, because it's like, do I really, that's when the fear sets in, because it's like, wow, I can really be more than this, I can really do more, and I can really have more. And when you really start opening
or even
yourself up to that and realizing that the quality of our lives grows from what we believe and who we believe we are.
Right.
And just knowing that the only thing that I'm in total control of is my attitude, my mind, and what I do with that,
Absolutely right. And I love the fact, and also adding to that, like, I'm sure somewhere in there, maybe you even felt like when you were in that comfort zone of not having to take responsibility for being more, it was also you also maybe felt like you didn't deserve more.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that you had that aha moment to start playing big. Like that's what we're talking about. That's awesome, man. Yeah.
And realizing, you can feel all those feelings of I'm not good enough, or I could never do that, or who am I? I mean, just whatever that limiting belief is, or that closed mindset. It's okay to feel those things and to think those things, and just don't get lost in them.
Right. Don't stay there.
Yeah. It's like, go,
right.
okay,
right.
Okay, so I'm not the only one feeling this way. Other people feel this way, and it's what you do with that. And, just, I guess that's one of the things, like, okay, I've thought it, I've felt it, and I don't like it. Do I want to spend the rest of my day, feel, in this, or do I want to, like Chris, finding the joy and being happy and laughing, I want that. So I'm going to choose that, not the other.
Amen, sister.
Right. Well, and I think you guys touched on something too. And maybe I did, I don't remember, but having the people around, I think we've all mentioned it, having the people around you, right? When you're feeling those moments, like we all still do, but that's why we then contact each other.
Right.
Like
it's important. It's very important for our hearts, our souls, our hearts and our souls. Absolutely.
Yes. You have those people to help pick you up. No one. That's something else that I would encourage people to do. Don't feel like you are doing this alone, or like you have to.
And to add to that is, I mean, we're already in isolation.
Right.
And
right.
so there's a lot of people that are already people that isolate themselves. And now, I mean, so those people might feel very comfortable, but
that's true.
So to reach out, and if it's reaching out because we have to social distance, and you know we're in a year now doing this, and my connections, I mean, literally, I've been on the phone all day long, and it was my friends, two good friends, that called me this morning in such in-depth, such deep conversations. We had tears, we had laughter. That we were laughing so hard, Bill was laughing because he didn't know what we were laughing at. And I have been on this like spiritual high today, because it's just like, yes, this is what we were meant to do. Is we were created to have relationships.
Yes,
and we
connect.
Can't be with people physically as much as we'd like to,
right,
because of the situation we're in. So this is our only way to connect our hearts and our life with other people, and we need each other.
Yes, we can't do it by ourselves.
No, ma'am.
Absolutely.
We weren't intended to do it by ourselves.
No, not at all. And yeah, like don't be afraid to. I think people have shame when they think I need help, right, with changing my mindset, or not even mindset at this point, right? I'm struggling. I'm feeling a certain way, and I think they feel bad or ashamed that I need to reach out to someone to help me get through this.
Exactly.
And we are here to encourage you that please do reach out. That's okay. I actually, if you guys don't mind, I want to say something to the listeners. I want to tell them, if you're hearing this, and if you happen to listen to this podcast, this episode, and if you feel like you need to reach out to someone and you don't have anyone that you can reach out to, you can reach out to us on this podcast right here. If you're listening to it, there are links that you can connect. It takes you right to the website. That's liveallgood.com. It takes you to an email address. Please send a message. If you are struggling and need to connect. We are here for you. We can at least tell you that we love you, if nothing else. We can tell you to have hope. I read an acronym for hope. It was hold on, pain ends.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, yes, I love that. And so, yes, this pain of isolation will end. We just have to hold on, and we have to do it together in whatever way we can. So, Chris and Melissa, man, you guys have been awesome. You've been wonderful, and I thoroughly appreciate your sharing of what you think mindset is and your personal stories behind it. Is there anything that you guys would like to leave as a final thought for today's episode?
Just don't give up. Don't give up. Keep every day, do something, find something that can be a win for you. Just if it's victory over one thought, or just victory over, I don't know, one chore. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just don't give up. Find small wins every day, something that can just make you feel like you're winning,
I love it.
That's awesome, Melissa. Completely agree with everything she just said. And, just like I shared earlier, when you do wake in the morning, make a decision. Just make a decision that it's going to be a good day. You're going to be positive.
I love it.
You're going to
be
realistic, in any situation that you may find yourself in. And, seek support from somebody outside of your home.
I love it, you guys. Yeah, you know what? We will leave it there because there's nothing else for me to say. I appreciate it, you guys. Chris, Melissa, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Move the Needle. You can find the Live All Good podcast and every episode of Move the Needle and other episodes on Spotify. You can find them on Google Podcasts, on Apple Podcasts. There's other platforms it's on too. I mentioned you can also find it on liveallgood.com. And until next time, we will see you all later. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.